Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It don't get much more amusing than this one because, Facebook. I don't actually even know where to go with this one, but it's definitely something, though I'm not entirely certain what. But hey, I'm sure we. Oh, God, we're up to 4 people already. Okay, yeah, it's going to be fun. So, Doku. You trust Facebook, don't you, mate? Nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, I definitely trust the large mega data mining company that I haven't been actively participating in for God knows how long. It's well over 5 years. I know that because, yeah, not just Facebook though, also Amazon. Um, okay. In case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, I guess I'll give you the short version. There are some individuals amongst our populace participating in our society that have the brilliant idea of allowing Facebook and Amazon to have a seat, not be called upon or contracted out, but have an actual seat at the UN.
Yes, you actually did hear him. Please repeat that again just to make sure they heard you, sir.
Yes, they want Facebook and Amazon to have a seat at the UN. And in case anybody is thinking this is insane, which it is, I'll let you know you're not crazy because yes, they are trying to make the argument that amongst the global community, Facebook and Amazon should be treated as nation states with sovereignty.
I shouldn't laugh like that, but it's so funny.
It, I've heard some crazy ideas and even crazier rationale behind said crazy ideas, and this one has to be in my top three because so I have an itching suspicion that this is also coming from the same people who 10, 20 years ago would have been against large mega corporations. I'm pretty sure this, or at least there's some tax the rich crowd overlap in this. You want Facebook, the company that got caught selling people's personal data to third parties for profit, and Amazon, owned by the richest man in the world that has God knows how much data on God knows how many people, to be treated as sovereign nations and have a seat, thus a voice, in the decision making process for a global conglomerate of sovereign nations. Uh, oh, uh, why? Uh,
May I just interrupt you just for a moment? Do you remember a little while ago, while Dodge was around, we were all sitting around having one of these little chats, and I pointed out that the corporations are going to be ending up with their own security guards stroke military force, and both you and Dodge pretty much went, ah ha ha ha, ah ha ha ha, no way. Do you remember this by any chance?
well, I remember laughing at the notion because I know how easily it can happen, and as Oz correctly points out in the chat, yes, railroads did indeed have corporate downs. And yeah, it seems like they should also have their own private militaries as well. But tell me again, I believe it was was it Eric Swalwell, I think, uh
Mm,
who was saying, well, we have nukes. I believe it was the current commander in chief saying, well, you'd need a nuke and a couple of F-15s if you want. Well, apparently they want to give Facebook and Amazon nukes and F-15s, according to this argument.
no, no, come on, come on. Let's not get hyperbolic here. They're not suggesting giving them these weapons. They're suggesting that they should have a right to a seat on the council. Unless you can tell me that having a seat on the council requires you to have a military component. Oh, that's right. It does actually suggest that, doesn't it? Oh, this could be bad. Good job people weren't listening to me because obviously I'm completely making this up and I didn't mention this about 3.5 years ago, give or take.
Well, to be fair, they're suggesting that they should be treated as sovereign entities, nation states, Which, part of the idea of being a sovereign nation state is you have the right to rally and assemble your own military forces, which, well, I guess they're trying to get Amazon to buy fighter jets and nukes. Maybe a blue water navy aircraft carrier too. I don't see this going south at all. What about you, Jensen?
Mate, I've just been waiting for this shit. Okay, by the way, we have gone past the 5 minutes. I repeat, we have gone past the 5 minutes before I said shit. I don't care though. But I have. I know it's amazing we actually got that far. I'm impressed. I've been saying this for ages, and people have laughed and joked, thinking it's just one of my tinfoil hat things. Yeah, sure, maybe, just maybe, I actually know what I'm talking about. I don't know. Make your own decision on that one, people. But this is something that may well be happening. Wow, life's getting interesting. Oh, yeah. Miss Murder. Here we go. Let's go up. Wait, I have an idea. We give Facebook and Amazon to the countries everyone hates. It won't matter. They're everywhere already. They already have all the information that they could want on all of us. I can't think of any other country that might find use for that sort of information. Oh, yeah. China. Social credit scores. No. Hey, CSG. Good to see you, mate. Yeah, so life's getting fun. We're all going to die, and it's going to be Facebook and Amazon's fault. And I'm just declaring this now. Not that anyone listens to me. Go on.
Weirdly enough, giving Facebook and Amazon a designated territory with borders and the ability to defend said borders against foreign entities and powers, weirdly actually feels like you would be restricting them compared to the amount of power they already have.
Yeah. No. I see your point. And in all fairness, they do say that they should be given this power as a form of control. So giving them the UN seat is somehow, I would love for people to explain how this is going to work, but somehow giving them the UN seat is actually going to be able to control these people. Try not to laugh too much, Doku. But yeah, so I can't see how this could go wrong at any point. I fully support them. In fact, I tell you what, while they're there, they should just give ownership countrywide to YouTube, because YouTube is right. YouTube is always right.
Strangely enough, I know we're kind of joking, kind of not, about the idea of Amazon and Facebook having a private army. It would be a way to flex muscles, but considering how effective blackmail, espionage, and other forms of more subtle warfare tend to be effective, they might as well already have a fucking army that you just slap the Amazon logo next to the F-15. It'll be a nice, maybe do a nice elephant walk, have a few C-130s, maybe a Spectre gunship in there, a few F-15s, F-16s, maybe a Raptor. And I know I know this sounds hyperbolic. It sounds like I'm joking. They have enough money to buy and support and conduct maintenance and crew and arm these sorts of platforms already. So it's, yes, am I being cheeky? Yes, I am definitely being cheeky. If they were recognized as sovereign nation state entities by the UN, would they have the capability of actually funding a military?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would.
They have more money. Seen a bit, Jim. Like I said, they've got more money than most small countries that you can pretty much put most of these together, and they've still got more money than them. And yet they also have connections to all of these tiny little countries, so they're already everywhere. Okay.
Oh, fuck cats.
Are we having fun? Maybe goodbye some of the Taliban. Actually, you know what, Loafer? It's fascinating how all of these weapons suddenly, were left behind just before this happened, Or am I doing the old tinfoil hat thing? If I am, Doku's the sensible one.
Well, oddly enough, considering how valuable information can be, if for anybody that is in need of an explanation, it's the most valuable thing you could possibly have. I wonder how many countries would suddenly want to sign deals and treaties, either publicly or in a behind closed doors, with the now recognized sovereign nation state of Amazon. If I was in a position of leadership and I was the head of a nation state, I would definitely want access to Amazon's resources, potentially their funds, and potentially any information on my political opponents, because I would never do anything nefarious with it, now would I?
I pointed this out a while ago, so I'm going to say it again just because it's funny. I've been saying that we are rapidly heading towards the cyberpunk universe. We are knocking on the door of the cyberpunk universe when corporations have the possibility of getting this much power legally. I mean, let's be honest, they've had access to this much power illegally for ages, but now that they're going to possibly be getting officially and legally, it isn't funny anymore. Okay? And I like your idea, Ms. Murder, but the problem is you and I both know full damn well that they're probably going to be buying chunks of them. Oh, I see. You're hoping they're buying California so you can nuke it. Nice concept.
Yeah. So you're correct on moving towards the cyberpunk dystopian future that we all joked about a couple of years ago. I'm more surprised that we're getting there as quickly as we are.
Oh, I'm not. I really ain't. Okay, me and B have been talking about this for ages. We've been seeing this shit for quite a while. All I'm saying is it's about bloody time it's happening. I've been waiting for it. In all fairness, the moment we started seeing the crap show that was going on with the pipeline with the Native American Indians, we knew that it was starting. And no, we don't want to go down a hill. It's a nice hill. It's a very friendly hill. We like this hill.
And oddly enough, considering the balkanization that has been occurring in not just the United States, but globally in worlds that, or countries, worlds, what am I fucking talking about? Countries, societies that have access to the level of technology and, not worrying about feeding themselves, that they can waste their time partaking in global politics. I'm actually thinking of, oddly enough, I'm starting to think like maybe I'd be better off in a third world country at this point in time, considering the future we're heading towards. Funny how the tables can turn quickly. But yep. I digress.
We may have a CSG, just letting you know.
Okay, cool. Because I'm always curious to hear his opinions on these types of things. But when it comes to the balkanization we have in society, there seem to be two mindsets that are emerging. The first one is the fuck off and leave me alone mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is the embrace authoritarianism, because it also comes with the idea of safety and security, even if these things might be promises and you might be giving the authority of said safety and security to people that really shouldn't have it. Gee, I don't remember this ever happening in history before. But we are moving in those directions, and the middle ground seems to be shrinking more and more. It's either fuck you, leave me alone, or no, you need to do what I tell you to do because it's for the betterment and safety and security of everybody involved. Well, but if I don't want your safety and security, well, then you can leave and you won't get any of our benefits. Okay, deal. In case anybody missed it or has forgotten, the University of Virginia, not too long ago, as in like the past week, did a study showing that 52% of Trump supporters support the idea of secession, along with 41% of Biden voters. There seems to be a mutual agreement of, yeah, you fuck off and do your thing, and I'll happily fuck off and do my thing.
Hey, CSG.
Hey, I thought I'd pop in and say hello before I went swimming again.
Oh, you're welcome to pop in and say hi, dude. In fact, we would love to know your opinion on this Yeah, I wish it was a joke. It's funny, but it's not a joke.
Okay, let me do this properly. Do you want me to take the story as an actual story, or do you want me to take it as the story it's intended, which is an opinion?
Go with it. Let's just hope it is an opinion. I would like that noted. I really hope it is only an opinion, that this is not happening, because I do not want this to be happening. I'm making it very, very clear. I want it to be just an opinion. So please go with which one you feel.
Well, I've just had a look at the story from Bloomberg, which
Yep.
is an opinion piece. And basically, what it says is that it doesn't actually want them to have nation state status. It just wants them to actually come to the United Nations or the UN so it could be held accountable like a nation. So it could be held to international law and international standards rather than it being an entity to the Cayman Islands, for instance.
Yes. One sec. I did actually say this to you, Doku, as well, just so that that's been stated. I did
No,
mention this.
that is fair, and oddly enough, that could actually be a good thing because Amazon and Facebook should be held accountable for some of the questionable practices that they have. Where I find this to be a slippery slope, however, is if you're bringing them in to hold them accountable as far as a corporation goes for international law, we can already do that. Has it been done? No. Can we? Yes. If you want to hold them accountable in the same capacity, you're already moving in the direction of, well, how far do we actually take this little thought experiment? Because it could very easily end up with what I'm warning about, where you have to recognize them as having some degree of sovereignty if you're going to hold them to that level of accountability, which again, I don't think we need to do.
I mean, I would. Right, let me preface this. I completely and utterly agree with you that giving companies national ship status is completely and utterly ludicrous, and anybody that posits that of an idea is definitely going down a dystopian road that would lead us to cyberpunk. I completely agree with you, both of your guys' assessment on that one. But going back to the story, it's more of a case of what they want to do is because of international law and how in different, let's say, continents, they have different ways of being able to prosecute Facebook, like what's going on at the moment for Facebook in the US, completely different to what it is for the European Union, for instance, where if they come to a point of United Nations to be held accountable, not to be recognized as a state, then it can be universally agreed upon that they have to follow data protection laws, security laws, make sure that they're not going against government, so on and so forth. At least that's my reading of the story that I've read so far.
Okay, no, reasonable. But just wanted to point out, by the way, you've spoken on and I can hear myself.
Sorry?
Do you want to hit mute, mate?
See, I knew that this would happen. As soon as I start making sense. No, I'm joking. Yeah, of course.
I have silenced him. No, seriously. Like I say, why would they really give them that much power just so as they can, try and strip them of some of their power? You don't give power to strip power. That ceases to be logical, especially since the sort of power they're giving is, well, the possibility of a seat on the bloody UN Council. I mean, to put it simply, even China had trouble getting this, but yeah, again, it's something they've got. They've got now. So, go on, mate.
And this is where I say this is a slippery slope. And don't get me wrong. I'll preface with this. I do not have any problem with an international council looking at Amazon or Facebook or Google or any of these other large mega corporations, especially the ones in the tech industry, considering how much power they already have, and putting them under the proverbial microscope and holding them accountable for anything that's questionable. The thing is, they're already operating in so many different countries, and not all countries' laws are the same. I don't I don't think we need the UN to scrutinize them. Like, can they operate in the same way they can in the EU versus the United States versus China? No, they have to adhere to those countries' laws. I can kind of understand why the argument is being made. I don't think this is the right way to go about it.
Just to jump onto what Doku said there, you
Mhm.
start off by making the point of the reasons why Facebook and Amazon should be on the council, simply because that they do operate in so many different countries where if they wanted to, they could operate outside of the US while working within it, and vice versa for the European Union, which they do already, and for UK and in China and wherever. Where if they're on the UN, now that doesn't mean that they're nationally recognized. That doesn't mean that they are a stateship to themselves. It just means that they're on the seat, which means that they have to abide by international treaty that every other country that's signed up to the UN has to abide by, which means that it now has a process of universally being charged of and by the UN rather than it being by the individual countries, which then gives the UN and individual countries more clout to go after Facebook, to make sure that they don't censor the wrong people, to make sure that they don't cause more division by setting up any version of fake news that we want to put forward. So it does actually make sense. It just, as you say, does have a process of maybe turning into a dystopian proper cronyism. Yeah, fuck that.
And that's
Too easy. Yeah.
that is my concern, because considering how much power and how much financial capabilities the two corporations, just these two, have already, somebody who's clever enough with the right team of lawyers behind them, and I really am going to regret saying this because I don't want to give anybody any ideas, but the argument could be made that if we're going to be held to account in the same way that a country or a sovereign nation state that's on the UN Council, if we're going to be held to that same sort of account, why don't we have the same type of privilege? I.e., I should be allowed to have my own private military and defend my proverbial territory or property, even if that is not beholden to something as simple as static borders. Someone could make that argument, and I guarantee you somebody will try. Now, will it succeed? I have no idea. But I don't even feel like that's a door we should even consider opening.
Well, it's actually a really good thing that you bring that up. So that would be most people's fears. But you have to remember that just because that you're on a UN council, that doesn't automatically give you statehood. Now, from what you've actually said, it's absolutely perfectly legitimate to think that a lawyer would argue that. But to be recognized as a state, you have to have your own land. You have to have your own nation, your own national flag. You have to have your own army already. You have to have your own sovereign anthem. You have to have your flag, so on and so forth, your own currency, so on and so forth. Facebook doesn't have that. And I don't think it ever would, because even if it had its own island, it still wouldn't be necessary to be recognized by the UN.
I get what you're saying. The thing is, I wouldn't want to. Could Facebook or Amazon turn around and buy an island or a chain of islands or a large enough chunk of territory somewhere and declare themselves sovereign and essentially hire their own army and declare, hey, employees, you want to be a citizen of this? Could they potentially pull something like this off? I don't know why they would want to, because I think the way they operate right now is much less restricted. So if I was playing devil's advocate and arguing for Amazon or Facebook, I wouldn't want this type of accountability. I'd rather be able to move through the cracks and everything. But is the possibility there? Are they large enough and wealthy enough to actually do something like this? Yeah, they are. And I wouldn't want to give them any more capability of being able to fulfill something like that, because it's a terrifying dystopian rabbit hole that I don't want to go down.
Now, my turn. You make the point about they don't have their own land. I agree, but this could be used as their way of claiming, well, we have a right to our own land, and that way they consider taking it with the permission of their country. It's not like there's not lots of countries out there that have an absolute ass ton of useless land they're willing to give away. They've not got a flag. Well, they kind of do, because all of these companies do have their own icons and things like that that are directly connect to them. They don't have their own money. Well, crypto. And what was the other option you said? I actually cannot remember. I'm being serious now.
Anthem.
Anthem. Right. So you're telling me that they can't afford to hire people to create basically 6 dozen notes slammed together, and there's your anthem. I feel they possibly could. I'm not saying that they will. I'm saying they could.
No, completely and utterly understand your criticism worries there.
Mhm.
The problem is that with what Doku said before, where you could buy an island, as far as I'm aware, now I could be wrong, and I'm quite happy to be proven wrong if necessary, but if you were to buy a small island, that doesn't actually constitute as a country necessarily. So when you actually have, say, for the instance, the islands in Polynesia, they're not actually always recognized as individual countries. They're normally actually recognized as the islands of Polynesia, and then have the subset or sub-states within that pelago.
Yeah.
Also, as well, with what Quinn mentioned, for them to be able to get land, you have to remember that the people that work there would also have to become national citizens for Facebook. Now, you could be correct, and they could quite easily go off and get that done, and I'm not going to disagree with you. They could do. But that would also mean that they would have to have a citizenship status waiting line. So for most people, the smallest amount, I believe, is 4 years, but I think the smallest is 2 years before you can become a citizen of somewhere, though I can't remember where the 2 years is, but most places is 4. So that would have to be a time waiting period that people could appeal the nationhood, for instance. An icon isn't a flag. A flag actually has to be universally recognized for it to be flown. That's the reason why pirates' flags were never actually recognized as actually being sort of any sort of form of nationhood or anything else like that. They have to be recognized as a country, which means it has to be scrutinized.
I would like to counter that, at least that one point of it. The rest of it, we can discuss at a later point. But when it comes to the flag, you think about. Let's just use Facebook as a basic idea. I'm not saying this, that they will. I'm saying that it's using this just as a, for instance. Can you honestly tell me that there are people out there that don't actually recognise the Facebook flag? As in, first, literally, oh yeah, that's Facebook. They will know what that is. Now, it won't be that difficult for them to actually go from identification to full-on recognising thereof if people actually choose to do that. If it's a controlled thing, then I can't see why they wouldn't. And as for your 2 to 4 year thing, I'm not disagreeing with you in the slightest. But who sets the rules on that? Why can't they change it? It's their country now.
Well, I just want to address one thing. Oz chat, ironically enough, brings up France because just in the brief time we've been having this conversation, I can't help but get the idea of the most Orwellian Louisiana Purchase that humanity has ever seen in my head.
It's a thought.
Well, that's the thing. We already have precedent for land being purchased and sold by already recognized sovereign nations. Who's to say that this can't happen? And do I want to see this happen? No. I think it's terrifying. I'm against this in so many ways. We'll be here for hours if I tried to explain all of them. But we've had it happen before in the past. There is a historical precedent for it. And again, I think if this was to become a reality, I think it's opening doors that should be left closed.
Well, just to throw a concept out there, can anyone think of any country in the Americas maybe going through a bit of a problem with money? Maybe it's people are, I don't know, eating the creatures from the zoos. Don't say any names yet. It's much more fun that people work this out themselves.
Then.
And all it would take is for the leader of that country to sell his country, gain money, help possibly even become a citizen of said country, i.e., Facebook only,
Suela.
for want of a term. Yeah, we're not going to say names at all. We're never ever going to mention anything to. If only I knew the flag pattern, I'd actually drop hints on that. But I think we all know exactly what we're bloody talking about here. Come on, guys. You know.
Red, blue, and yellow.
Oh, thank you very much. Actually, that makes life easier. Cheers, dude. Okay, yeah. So they take that. Oh, they've even got the blue in there that they can easily turn into the F for the Facebook. Well. I can't see how easy this would be. Can you, Doku? Does this sound really technical to you?
You know, funny enough, last night when I was on a different stream from a certain monkey that I know you don't like, so I will refrain from using names. But I had made the joke.
I normally get his name on my ass.
Ooh.
That's kinky. I won't judge. I won't judge. But
They're definitely fucking annoying. I know that much.
Mm-hmm.
But I made the joke last night that if I was the CEO of a company like MGM Grand or Las Vegas Sands, considering Cuba's past, I would really like to buy the nation of Cuba, because with some fertilizer purchases, maybe I could do a few acquisitions, buy 51% shareholder stock in a like Kinder Morgan for say. I could start producing good cigars. Also, I could revitalize the tourist industry. I could say, hey, you're now the nation of this. Why? Because I bought the territory. Here's the documents. They're legal. Sign them. Then I just have to go to the UN, get recognized. Congratulations. I now own the island of MGM, formerly known as Cuba. Come drink, gamble, and what happens in Cuba stays in Cuba. It's not that far off if you think about it. Someone who's ambitious enough, clever enough, and has the resources available to them could actually do this.
From Oz, you could probably buy Haiti pretty cheap.
Can I grow quality tobacco in Haiti? Because I could just call that New Cuba.
I actually don't know, but possibly. At the end of the day, it's the same area, loosely, isn't it?
I mean, with Cuba, it's a case of it being heavily ravaged by storms and tsunamis and things like that. But you'd probably be all right if you were inland somewhere.
I'm just saying, these possibilities sound really ridiculous, like they're out of a science fiction novel or something, and they're far-fetched. But when you actually sit down and start thinking about it, it's actually it's not as crazy as it might initially sound. And I'm kind of disturbed to hear myself saying that, but it's true.
Yeah.
All right, very, very quickly, because I'm going to have to go very shortly.
I understand that.
It's a case of, yes, this could happen. The same as me, you, and Quinn deciding that what we're going to do is we're going to build a rocket in the middle of our back garden and get to the moon. There's a possibility that shit could fucking happen.
I thought we agreed not to tell everyone about this.
But yeah, no, it probably ain't though, right? I mean, I'm a bit lazy. It's probably not going to work.
Well, I would agree with your analogy, except for one difference. If me, you, and Quinn all were worth a couple $1 million each, and we could hire a team of scientists and acquire the resources necessary, it could happen. The only thing really stopping us from doing that is, well, we have the financial problem. Now, Facebook and Amazon, Elon Musk has already... I'll just leave that at that. I don't think I even need to finish my sentence.
Sure, but my point is still that just because something is possible, that doesn't make it probable.
True.
That's a fair point. I would say I understand the analogy. I would say the financial aspect is the one thing that does actually concern me, because, again, when you have billions of dollars at your disposal, the improbable can become, well, obtainable, and they have enough money to actually turn those dreams into reality. If I was worth a couple billions of bucks, I could run for president and run a few ad campaigns, and I'd probably have a decent shot at it. And that doesn't mean I'd be the right guy for the job, and I would never want to do that because why waste billions of dollars? But it could happen. All it takes is somebody with ambition and vision.
Doku, just like to say one thing. Doku 2024.
No.
Just make sure it gets hashtagged, okay? I'm sure it'll be good for him.
I would never, ever, ever want to sacrifice 4 years of my life and any potential future fortune that I might have simply so I could be attacked by the media and dragged through the mud and accomplish probably nothing. I'm good.
Apparently, America, you can just write the names at the top. So just pointing out, okay, Doku 2024. There you go, mate.
I'd rather
to bring the conversation back. To bring
Thank you, CSG.
to go on the point of the finances, I understand exactly where everybody's fears would be aligned on there. Yeah, they do have a lot of money, but it's a case of you have to remember that money doesn't get you everywhere. As in the case of at the minute, Facebook is now being heavily scrutinized about the processes that it's done for the children, how it's going through everything to do with the Senate at the moment. So yeah, it's being scrutinized. Do you think that the United Nations would be monitoring a island that Facebook or Amazon has bought, going, yeah, we're going to let this happen? Because me personally, I think that the UN, the EU, and the Americans themselves would go, yeah, you're a threat. You can fuck off.
I would err on the side of even giving them more of a possibility than they already have to do something like this is a terrifying enough thought already. But you're probably correct because, again, I'm already looking at this and going, yeah, how about no? But again, I don't want to open that door. What the fuck is that? Hold on one second.
Okay. And
it's a really good thing, though, that this is just an opinion piece, though, yeah?
It is. Oh, yeah. Truly, I really hope it does not go anywhere. I cannot stress this enough. If not that anyone here probably has any sort of power to get involved in this, but let's not let it get any more serious than an opinion piece. But it's still worth letting people know that it has become an opinion piece purely for the simple fact that all it takes is people to go, oh, that's an idea. After all, opinion pieces can lead on to truth very, very easily. That's the worrying part. But let's hope this doesn't.
Yeah.
No, I actually completely agree with both of you on that side of things. I wouldn't want Facebook or any other corporation to be recognized internationally as a nation. Though the opinion piece themselves specifically states in it not to be recognized as an actual nation, just to have a seat at the council. Now, we have people like Greta Thunberg actually being a member of a council. We had, what's his name? We had Sargon and we had Count Dankula actually being a member of a council, admittedly for a really short period of time, but they were a member of council for a Pacific area. Does that mean that they're now nations? I mean, Count Dankula probably would want to be, but
can't disagree with you there. Fair assessment.
And let's be honest, Sargon's big enough that he could possibly count as a nation. Let's be fair.
Well, I mean, I'm normally a dick to him, but he has lost weight.
Oh, cool. Oh, well done to him then. Okay.
But to be fair, we're not talking about individuals and their particular circumstances that led them to that outcome. We're talking about conglomerates with employees that operate internationally that have very large coffers. I understand the analogy you're trying to say, but I don't necessarily believe that the two are equatable.
Very, very quickly, it's not an analogy. It's actually to point out that we're assuming that if you have a seat on the council, you have to be recognized as an international state. And the point is that people aren't recognized as international states, but have membership on the council all the time. That's the point I was generally getting to.
Okay,
no, fair point.
I get it. So then are we saying that it's just Bezos and Zuckerberg, or are they going to have a I mean, again, we're talking about corporations, like, and conglomerates, like groups of people. Like, it's a slippery slope. It's a weird door. I understand the point and the argument. It's just, if it was only Bezos or Zuckerberg, I wouldn't look at it in the same way as when I hear it phrased as Amazon or Facebook. Again, someone who's very clever at legalese could take this and turn the situation into something that we don't want it to devolve into, or evolve, depending on whose side you're on.
I am definitely not a Christian, so evolve.
There we go.
Fair point, sir. Fair point.
And just
Well-
real quick, I wanted to address Shradi in the chat briefly before we segue back into
Do
the
you have
conversation.
to? Does anybody have to address Shiatu?
Well, I'm going to. She said nobody wants Doku as president. You're correct. I hope you're correct, because I've definitely had conversations with random strangers at bars, and I've convinced them that if I ran for political office locally or statewide or even nationally, they would vote for me. So that should tell you something about the intelligence of the population at large.
Doku
Well-
2024.
Well, very quickly to support this notion, whenever
Mhm.
somebody in a comic book says that he doesn't want power, it's normally a good indication that he should be the one to accept power.
I know.
Doku 2024.
I hate
Hate
this.
us, yes. CSG, good luck with this one, mate. Hope you do well.
Yeah, I'm just going to float and pretend that I'm not as fat as I am.
Hey, if you can float in a direction, you're doing well, mate. You really are.
That's
And down
actually
is
very
not
true.
a direction, so don't try that one. Just
Well,
saying.
it is a direction, just an unhealthy one.
Okay, I'll accept that statement.
Yeah, can't argue with that one. That is a valid argument.
Yeah.
But no, thanks for joining CSG, because it's always good to have a different perspective, and your perspective was actually
Yes.
very informative.
Oh yes.
I
most
very
definitely.
much appreciate coming on. I love being able to talk to people because I never heard any of these types of stories. So when it comes on, I'm like, I need to read it. I need to read the story. I need to read it now.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm going to get
Anyway.
off anyway. As you said, I need to get off. Otherwise, I'll end up staying here and missing my appointment. So thank you
Yeah,
very
no,
much, guys, for
go.
letting me come on. And
No
I
problem.
will hopefully see you at some point.
Anytime you are welcome to pop on, mate. So speak to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Later, CSG, and hopefully,
Right.
hopefully by the next time he talks to us and comes on the show, we'll actually still have a channel. Queen Susan, please be nice.
They are gods, not merely a queen. How dare you reduce them in their power?
I already screwed up without realizing I screwed up.
Yes. Anyway, you had something you wanted to say to all these wonderful people before I dropped that on you.
You know, I did, and I forgot completely what it was.
Oh, awesome sauce.
So
Well-
when we were talking behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was essentially the idea of we're galvanizing towards the point of I don't want anything to do with you, and clearly you don't want anything to do with me. And again, I remember the whole when Biden was talking about we need to unify and come together as a nation, and social media, whether it was on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, people were talking about this. The number of people who were saying, I never want to unify with somebody who would vote for person A, and people who voted for person A are like, I would never want unity or accept as someone who voted for person B. It seems to me like that mindset is becoming more and more of the norm.
Yeah.
Like people don't want unity. I'm not sure exactly what, or even if there was like a flashpoint event or multiple small events that led to this sort of collective mindset, but it does seem pervasive in our society where division is the norm. Unity is openly and flat out rejected. Like people don't want it.
No. How does that feel? Your country is hurtling towards a split. It's not like that this has ever happened before. 1850 odd. It's never happened, and I don't see why anyone should be concerned about it at all. After all, I'm sure that Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are going to do all that they can to stop this from happening. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I'm sure they would never do anything that would be technically harmful to the larger international community or even potentially their own future citizens. But yeah, I'm sure they would definitely operate with no malice and the most benevolence that you would ever have expected since the coming of the Son of God.
Of course. And not wanting to put any sort of paranoia out there, but after all, if America was split up into two separate sections, that means that there'd be an area that could well be, or I don't know, bought by corporations. Why does that ring bells? It's like someone was talking about it recently. Can't think who though. Thankfully, we don't want to think about things like that because that would be bad.
And again, that's what concerns me about this, because under the right conditions, however improbable they might be, what we were theorizing about, postulating on, throwing darts at dartboards, it could happen. And considering the state of society and the direction we seem to be heading in, that possibility seems to be becoming more and more, not a science fiction novel.
Yeah. Well, to be completely blunt, mate, in your case, you probably want to move pretty much directly left of your state by about, I don't know, half a state and join West Virginia, because that's likely to be red, whereas full damn well your state's going to end up blue, and that's a problem.
Funny enough, I was actually looking at housing prices and different taxation laws, and if I were to move, if I ever decide to move, I'm currently not in position to do so, but that could very quickly change in the future. Oddly enough, I landed on the state of Tennessee.
Well done. Good choice. Really is.
Well, Tennessee has one particular law that is going to expire, and I really, really like it, because if I am holding, let's say, dividend-paying stocks or bonds or anything that generates passive income, even if it's a cash deposit or something like that, normally you'd be taxed on that. And the state of Tennessee, it was either this year or last year, that law has expired. It is now anything I get, like, let's say I have $1 million and I'm getting 10% on that 10%, I don't pay any state taxes for. I only have to worry about the federal tax.
Ooh. Okay. This has got possibilities already.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, maybe I'll just find a high yield bond account or ETF or something that's well managed and just park a ton of money in there, take my 5%. Am I making more than $30,000 a year? If the answer is yes, I could literally sit on my ass and do nothing.
Don't forget that there are all these lovely corporations and governments out there that would love to know if you're getting that much money. Don't forget that, mate.
I am aware of that. And I was having an argument with someone on Twitter about this, because they're trying to make the argument, that $600 in an account or flowing through an account, because some people have gotten this wrong. It's not just $600 in the account. If you make a deposit of $600, guess what? The IRS needs to know about it. And my question is this. You already can't close these tax loopholes that you complain about, and in case anybody's wondering, they will never be closed, because the same politicians that you vote for who claim they're going to tax the rich, make them pay their fair share, use those same tax loopholes to become millionaires. And they didn't do it on a public salary. They did it most likely on insider trading. Let's be blunt, call a spade a spade. Do you think they're going to do anything about this? No. You're not going to catch some billionaire money magician genius by monitoring a bank account with $600+ in it, or a deposit of $600 or greater. The only thing you're doing is you're giving the IRS an excuse to audit you for buying a new refrigerator. Why?
Yeah. Hold it. Just a point. Okay, it's a tiny thing. So what you're saying is that they're going to be monitoring the people that might be getting all this money that your government is throwing out and buying, I don't know, GameStop shares? And wasn't the GameStop thing a bit of a problem for the rich people? Anything there ringing any bells? Or am I just wrong somewhere? And I'm happy to be wrong.
Oh, it's not like a group of collective apes, as they would call themselves. It's not a pejorative or demeaning term, so calm down, YouTube.
It feels right calling them apes somehow, or at least monkeys. But anyway, carry on.
Or smooth brain is the other term they like to use. I love the self-deprecating humor, but yeah, it's not like a collective group of smooth brain apes on Reddit managed to bankrupt 2 hedge funds worth millions, if not billions of dollars. Oh, wait. That did happen, didn't it?
Yeah. So what they're doing, You are far more of an expert in this crap than me. All right, I'm not being nasty about it. It's true, you are. Does this mean that if they actually are able to monitor it, they can actually stop this from happening again?
Ed,
Mhm.
yeah, that there is a potential possibility if you're holding these groups to account. If Facebook and
Wow.
if Facebook and well, maybe Amazon, because Amazon actually runs data centers and server farms. So if your website is being hosted by something that's owned by Amazon, this happened to what the hell was it was actual legitimate neo-Nazi website. Daily Stormer, was it?
You're asking me, I wouldn't bloody know.
I think it was the Daily Stormer. But yeah, they actually got them completely deplatformed simply because Amazon owned the servers and Amazon said, yeah, we're not going to provide you any service anymore. Well, yeah, weirdly enough, they already have the power to do that. But if you're going to hold them to this level of account, yeah, let's say there's a large hedge fund that owns a lot of shares in Amazon, and maybe somebody says, well, Amazon is hosting this site. I don't like this. Or whatever reason. I think I'm just going to sell my shares. And Amazon goes, no, don't do that. Well, we'll deplatform them. Yeah, that could happen. Doors that you don't want to open, because this would be a hedge fund. Well, let's say it's not a hedge fund. Let's say it's the nation of let's just say France, because we love mentioning France on this channel. Let's say France says, you're not breaking any EU law, you're not breaking any international law, but I don't like this thing that you're doing in the US, so therefore I'm going to push for this. And yes, we can hold you to international account because you have a seat on the UN, like we were talking about. Yeah, you could exercise a certain degree of influence. And again, I guess to my point is things are becoming more and more centralized. And throughout history, we've seen the more centralized things get, the more fragile they become. And I don't see why we continue to go down this road. It's not a good road. It never ends well.
Mm-hmm.
But such is the path we're on.
Ah, dear. It's almost like things are going to crap. How about that? I never expected this at all. Did you?
Yeah. It's not like let's be fair, joking aside, we've had a lot of warning signs, not just through our lifetimes, but over the past basically 200 years, if not longer, that we are moving more and more towards centralization. And weirdly enough, we're at the stage in the game where we're actively trying to redefine words, destroy or rewrite history, and completely ignore any of the lessons of the past. And it seems we're doing it for the sake of trying to prove that history does indeed repeat itself, and the outcome is usually the same.
Yeah.
Empires rise, empires fall. What is an empire? How do empires form? Well, power centralizes. Whether it happens through force, whether it happens through natural causes, mutual agreements, be it through war, violence, it doesn't matter. What we can determine beyond reasonable doubt is when large groups of people come together, given enough time, power does indeed centralize, either rapidly, usually through force if that's the case, or slowly just through the natural building up of cultures, customs, and traditions. But once you hit a certain point, that centralized power does inevitably fracture, and then that empire falls. And the result of that fall is usually chaos and violence.
Yeah. Personally, I think it's I agree with you, Charlotte. It is actually kind of funny. You're probably not thinking the same as we are, but you know what? It's still amusing. As I have said on so many bloody occasions, what can be done to stop this? Or have we actually got to the point, honest, in your opinion, because like I said, you're damn sight more of an expert of the economic shit than I ever will be. Have we gone too far? Are we at the point that there's nothing that really can be done by the air quotes common close quotes man. And I don't care how sexist that sounds.
That's indeed a good question. I have two answers. The optimistic answer is, ironically enough,
I agree with Shirati, just pointing out.
Yeah. So the optimistic answer is, thankfully, due to the advent of things like the internet and social media, exchanging information and ideas with people not just locally, but on a much wider scale and somewhat uninhibited. We still have some freedom of speech, emphasis on some, but it's enough that people, if they so choose, can wake up and recognize exactly what's going on around them, as opposed to just paying attention to 9 to 5 news and whatever sports ball game is on at the time, and pay attention to actual societal changes that will not only impact them, but also impact their children, their children's children, future generations, the entire world that you live in. Life-changing shit, as some would say. It thanks to stuff like that, and considering the direction things are going, I think the pendulum has swung far enough that even people who are disinterested or would normally be disengaged are even recognizing, like, hey, the path we're on is not a good one. There's some stuff going on that it's rather concerning. The more and more people wake up to that and realize exactly what's going on. Normally, this is my point where I would say, as far as the powers that be are concerned, you're nothing but tax sheep and debt cattle. So wake up to that fact and make your decisions based upon that assumption. Things will actually probably work out better for you. Become a wolf, not a sheep. But that's the optimistic take. The realistic take, the proverbial powers that be are already so well entrenched and so well established that, yeah, I don't think anything short of a full-on collapse of the system by their own design, to be blunt. It's not going to be those evil people on that side because they voted this way, or those evil people on that side, they voted this way. That's not going to be what collapses the system. What collapses the system is the fact that our society as a whole has been completely mismanaged by the people we entrusted power to. They're going to be the ones that destroy it. And it doesn't matter if it's a Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, mega corporation, Facebook, Amazon, none of that fucking matters. Fact of the matter is, the people who have power, sway, control, etc. over society are going to be the ones at fault. They are going to be the ones that will destroy our society. They're already ones that were responsible for galvanizing society, leading to 41% of Biden voters and 42% of Trump voters wanting to literally separate from each other, secede, no unity. That's the result of people in positions of power. It is not the fault of the 41 and 42% or 52%. It's not their fault. It's the fault of the people who made division and propaganda a profitable business. They're the ones who caused this. They're going to be the ones who destroy it, and we're going to be the ones that suffer because of it. And I think we're already so far down that path. I don't know how you change it at this point in time. I really don't. We simply don't have the capability. We don't have the power. I could start my own social media company tomorrow, and it would require me buying a bunch of servers, getting a bunch of licenses, paying a bunch of taxes to the people who are already forcing me to do this when I shouldn't have to anyways, which will bankrupt me financially. It's simply outside of my capabilities to do so. I don't know how you can fight back against power once it's been centralized to such a degree, and that's the realistic truth.
Okay. So you agree with Shirati as well that things have got too far? Yes or no?
Yeah, I do. And the more important question here is, how did we get to this point? And the answer is actually rather simple. It was the complacency of the masses. And that's really how we got here. Like, do I care that this company is so large? No, they provide me with a great service. Are they doing anything?
Just saying.
But are they doing nefarious things? Yeah, they are. But does it impact me personally enough for me to actually get up and do anything about it? No, it doesn't. It is this particular entity acting in my best interest? Well, no, it's not really, but the game is on and my kid is crying in the background. I don't have enough time to really pay attention to it. Does it impact me enough for me to really care and get up off my ass and do anything? If the answer is no, well, guess what? People aren't going to get up off their asses and do anything about it. And over the course of decades, being distracted by whoever has talent in whatever country, or whatever singer or actor said something, or whatever new movie is coming out, whatever team won the Super Bowl, or who was going to the World Series, all of these little random distractions that keep us from getting up off our asses has created a society that's so complicit and just unengaged that we've gotten to the point where we ourselves allowed this to happen because nobody felt the need to fucking talk about it, let alone do something about it.
So what you're telling me is bread and circuses. Is this what you're sort of floating around the term of?
Yeah, basically. That's
You remember that conversation we had about bread and circuses, yeah?
really, and you're yeah. And
I'm
that's
sorry, okay? I'm
But
sorry,
that's-
I'm right.
But that is basically what happened. Is as long as the masses are entertained, distracted, and their basic fundamental needs are met, and they don't have a reason to rise up or do anything, they won't. And
Mhm.
during that point of, good times with weak men, as a saying would go, it's allowed people who probably aren't people who have your best interest at heart, but their own personal self-interest at heart and repaying whatever favors that were given to them. They're the ones that we allowed to get into a position of power, and then through, again, course of period of time, have centralized that power and insulated themselves to such a degree that even if we did do something about it now, it's so well entrenched that there's not shit you can do about it. I'm sorry. I hate to break the bad news to everyone, but if you think you're going to actually change this now, you're not. This is your grave. You dug it.
By the way, that has knackered my next question, which is, so what can we do about it? But by your own words, bugger all.
Honestly, there's one thing you can do. Well, I take it back.
Again?
Well, I take it back. There's two things you can do.
Okay.
You can try to point this out to people and see if they actually wake up and recognize,
like that we're doing.
Yeah, see if they recognize the situation they're in. And most people won't. I'll say this right now. Most people will not, because most people like to be optimistic. And most people don't want to recognize the situation they're in simply because the reality of the situation is uncomfortable. And naturally, we have a natural reaction to not want to recognize negative situations. Even if it's like it's that meme. The meme when it's like the house is burning down and you're sitting in the chair and like, nope, this is fine. That will be most people's natural go-to reaction. They won't recognize the truth no matter how much you try to prove it to them. Which brings me to the second option. What can you do? Honestly, focus on number one, focus on yourself, expect a collapse. Even if it doesn't happen in your lifetime, it'll happen in your children or your grandchildren's lifetime. It will happen. History proves this to us.
Yeah.
I know most people say, no, you're crazy, you're crackpot, conspiracy theory. Yeah, they told me that same thing 9 months ago when I said inflation was going to be out of control and the Fed was going to start raising interest rates. Oh, in the words of Razor Fist, fuck you, I was right.
Mm-hmm.
But that
Shorty has an opinion about you, says the Uber Twitter user.
I haven't been on Twitter in over 24 hours now. I think maybe I looked at it once or twice yesterday.
Okay, well done.
Now, to be fair, I had other shit to do. I know, despite popular opinion, Twitter is not my life. I'm not paid to actually sit on Twitter, and I'm not a comic book pro. So it is a good source for news. I'll say that much. It's also a good source of a brain rot.
Oh yeah.
But no, the second option, and this is probably the correct one. Focus on you. Make sure you're prepared. If society doesn't collapse in your lifetime, well, your family will be prepared. Your children will be prepared. Their grandchildren will be prepared. Teach your kids about finances. Teach your kids, what berries are poisonous and which ones aren't. know how to hunt, know how to fish. You don't rely on other people to take care of you, because that's another big part of the reason that we got to this point. People are so reliant on other people to take care of them, they can't take care of themselves. And when the house does start burning down, they won't leave the house, they won't run. They'll wait for the fire department to show up while the rafters fucking fall down around them. Because people have been conditioned to think that way. Don't fall into that trap. But the house is already burning. Sorry, real quick, I'll finish my point. Once you've done all that and you've ensured that you can take care of yourself and you'll be fine, sit down, walk outside, and watch the house burn. And then once you're done, build a new one. Let it collapse. At this point in time, that's where I'm at. I don't think we can stop any collapse. Even if it doesn't happen in my lifetime, I know I can't do enough to stop it. So I can at least make sure that I can take care of myself and the people I care about. That's it. That's all you can do as an individual. Unless you have billions of dollars, in which case you maybe be able to do a little bit more. And I would encourage you, if you are in that type of position, please do so, because we kind of need your help. Just don't expect it.
First of all, Carl, good plan. Love it. Second, by the way, Doku, you literally described what Shirat is doing with her kids. So I've got absolutely no complaints with anything that you said there. And thirdly, you're just agreeing with me with the burn it all down because it's a damn sight easier. Start again. Am I correct?
At this point in time, yes. And the thing is, you don't have to. You don't need to do what the left is doing. I should say the far left, the regressive left, where we need a revolution. We need to burn it down. All this stuff. Well, let the crazies go and do the crazy thing. They're fine at doing it. They don't need your help. They'll do it on their own. And don't get yourself involved, because guess what? When they run out of enemies, they'll eat their own. We see it happen time and time again. Let them implode. Let them self-destruct. It'll be fine. And that's essentially the best strategy you can take right now. Make sure you're taken care of. Make sure your friends, families, loved ones taken care of. Make sure you can weather the proverbial storm. Everything else that's going to self-destruct and implode, they'll burn it all down of their own volition, and they'll cheer the entire time they're doing it without realizing they're burning down their own house.
Yeah. So net result being, assuming that things are going the way they appear to be, where your country looks like it might be splitting down the proverbial centre, you don't see any way of saving it without letting it happen. Am I correct or incorrect so far?
Well,
we'll take almost anything as a way of saving it. Remember this: people, like you said, will go for the path of least resistance. They would prefer to not do anything. So, what is the absolute minimum that you can think of that could work?
Well, all right. So I'll shift back to the optimistic outlook. There is one, and again, this is the optimistic outlook. The one thing that could happen that doesn't result in collapse, doesn't result in violence, doesn't result in a split, doesn't result in the emperor having no clothes. And I believe I said this earlier this year or last year. So rather than giving you the answer, I'll give you the example. The greatest mistake that Trump made as soon as he got into office is he didn't vet and gut and fire every single person who was already in a position of power that he could not, without a shadow of a doubt, trust. And not just trust himself. Would I trust you with my daughter? Would I trust you with my newborn babe? If the answer is no, you're gone. You have no power. Go work for Fox. Go work for CNN. I don't care. But you no longer are in a position of power. You do not have a position, or you're not in a position to make decisions. You're out. You're gone. That's you could gut the system as a whole without having the entire country collapse, and then literally start from square one. That would be the best thing you could do.
Just to pause you, I actually did suggest to people, last round of voting, when it comes to actually doing these votes, look at it this way. when it comes to who you vote for, would you trust your grandchildren with this person? No, I'm not targeting any specific person with this, so don't. I realize where this could go, but would you be willing to trust this person with your grandchildren? If the answer is yes, then they are worthy of your vote. If the answer is no, look at the other person. Would you trust them? If it's oh hell no, then maybe the first one is possibly better, just out of purely the better of the two horrific ways of looking at things. In all fairness, this whole damn world needs a shake-up. The left and the right, the Conservatives and Labour, the Republicans and the Democrats, all of that needs to change. There needs to be a third viable, so I'm making sure I'm using that word, party. Okay. Hilariously, you guys have the libertarians. Don't laugh too loudly. We know how I'm using that as a concept. But imagine if they were actually a viable party that actually could make a difference. Wouldn't that be better?
I think ever since I've met you, I've been arguing the fact that the two-party system is fundamentally flawed, and I think I stand vindicated because even during the Democratic primaries, we saw a bunch of the Bernie supporters or the ex-Hillary supporters that I still think technically want Hillary to run, even though she's never going to. But you saw all of them saying, "I don't want to vote for Biden." But at the end of the day, these people will still vote for Biden, not because they like Biden. They don't. They'll tell you themselves they don't like Biden. Ask them why you voted for him. Then they'll say, "Well, because I hate Trump more." Yeah. These people didn't vote for Biden. They voted against Trump. And that is the inherent flaw of the two-party system is you have people who are so tribalistic in their mindset that they will vote against somebody knowing that they will dig their own grave. You don't have to stop them. And weirdly enough, when you see this mentality, it does come from either people who are disengaged or people who are very tribalistic. But you look at what's happening on the right compared to what's happening on the left. The left has a lot of mudflinging going on currently between the communist, socialist, regressives, whatever you want to call them, like the AOC camps and the old guard Democrats, the Pelosi's and the Maxine Waters and the Bidens of the world. But you don't see anybody really trying to, oust them from political office. They just don't agree with them and they want to force them to bend the knee and submit to their will. Versus on the MAGA Republican, the Lion Party, whatever you want to call it, like the nationalist populace would be the proper term. They're trying to primary every rhino. They want them out. They're like, no, you run as a Democrat, but you're not one of us. That's what's happening on the right. So I think the right, the way it is now in its current iteration, is more willing to call out its own, but actually do something about it and get rid of them and replace them with somebody who actually does represent their interests, as opposed to just, they're Republicans, so I'll vote for them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
In some degree, it's happening on the left, but mostly it's mudflinging. It's not followed up by any any action that would be significant enough to have an impact.
Okay. Brent, you're right, unfortunately. Burning it all down won't necessarily stop it. But this is why I'm advocating basically you lot getting your thumbs at your asses and actually going for the three-party idea. I mean, Britain's pretty much just as bad. So don't think I'm actually just crapping on America here. When I say the three-party concept, I actually mean this worldwide. Okay, this isn't just targeting one country. I mean, let's be fair. On the British side of things, we've got the Conservatives. Rumour has it we've got the Labour. And let's be honest, the next biggest party is the Social Democrat. Sorry, not the Social Democrats. The Scottish Nationalist Party. The ones that aren't even part of running our country. The Democrats, or the Liberals, as you may want to call them over here, no. Just just know they had their one try. They went in, they helped out the Conservatives, and they vanished. Okay, it's not even funny what happened to them. It was so bad. I truly think that America actually has more libertarian senators than we have liberals over here. I want you to think about that, mate. Yeah.
You know, it's the first time I'm hearing that, and it doesn't. I should be surprised, but I'm not.
By the way, same color, yellow. Just saying.
Huh.
Just, I mean, does it mean anything? Probably not. But it's amazing that it's the same color for both the liberals over here and the libertarians over there. I believe it is yellow for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah. There's libertarian would be yellow, green is obviously green, then red Republican, blue Democrat.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Over here, the Greens are so not even worth considering. Okay, they can sit there and spout all of their crap, but no one's listening. I'm gonna be honest. They basically over here. I'm assuming it's more or less the same, but over here, the various political parties will go, "Oh, we're following this green idea," just to try and get people who would vote for the Greens in to vote for them. We all know full well it's a load of crap. Okay, I'm going to be honest here. I'm not dicking around. I'm not going to make it try and sound good. And yes, I agree, Sean. You're not necessarily wrong with that statement. They make it seem like they're going to do the green stuff, but they're not. Okay, it's not happening. This whole thing with the climate change goblin, she can sit there and pretend that the world will be better if we all go green. You know what? Probably it will, but I still think that my idea of wiping out 3/4 of humanity will probably do a damn sight better than her ideas of giving up on aeroplanes. Just saying.
To be honest, and I've talked to a few climate change activists, Green Party members, and to be fair, their arguments usually start out rather reasonable. Now, it's funny to watch how unreasonable they become when you ask them what they're going to do about volcanoes or algae. Because, let's be fair, if you want to follow the science, trust the science, one volcanic eruption releases more of the dangerous gases and causes more climate change and everything that you claim to be against than 100 years worth of human activity post-industrial revolution. So I'm not even including the before fossil fuels and oil and the combustion engine were a thing. I'm talking post burning coal for power, post combustion engine. When oil was indeed a thing, black gold. Yeah, 100 years of that, less than one volcanic eruption.
Bad, isn't it?
Oh, but they'll still say that we need to all drive electric motors. Don't ask them where they're going to get the electricity from, because they get kind of touchy about that.
I think that they're planning on throwing all the cows into the volcanoes to block them up.
You know, if someone made that argument, I actually be like, I'll give you that one. I'll give it to you.
I'm joking, but oh god, I could see that them actually saying that now. I'm sorry, everyone. That was an accident. I didn't mean to give them an idea. Oh, I feel bad now. You know, one of them's going to say that, don't you?
The thing is, I'm actually expecting something crazier. Wait, I've heard people try to make the argument, well, all cars could just be solar powered. All right, how are you gonna get the materials out of the ground? How are you gonna refine it? How are you gonna build the solar panels? Are you gonna do that using batteries? At the end of the day, I'm sorry, natural resources are natural resources. Methods of production are important. Now, if you say, okay, well, we have to use some fossil fuels, but we can use less. Okay, you're right. We can also make an engine that's 18 miles per gallon,
Mhm.
30 or 35.
1 moment. Yep, 1 moment. Brent, it's not humanity, it's the moonmanity. You was close there. Carry on.
But this is an argument I used with someone, and I can't necessarily describe the reaction because it was a combination of I've never thought about that. You have a good point, and also I fucking hate you. So, due to EPA regulations here in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
cars have to have a certain standard, right?
Yes.
So, explain to me why not getting rid of my catalytic converter, but just replacing my exhaust system from catalytic converter catback,
Mm-hmm.
gives me better gas mileage, so better fuel efficiency, which reduces my need to consume fuel, which is technically better for the environment. But yet, according to climate activists, me making my car more fuel efficient is a bad thing because it reasons. Is it because it's louder or it smells? I don't know. I don't understand the idea, but I'm literally more fuel efficient. I consume less gasoline. My emission footprint has not changed. I can show you the freaking readout from the sensor they hook up to the back of the exhaust system. Yet, according to you, I need a more restrictive exhaust system because it's bad for the environment. These are the types of people you're dealing with.
Walk everywhere, peon. Let the rich people use their rides. Just remember that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I know.
And the thing is, these people will support, my name is Al Gore. I have a mansion that uses the same has the same electrical footprint as that of our apartment complex. And I fly everywhere in a private jet, but let me lecture you about climate change. Like, motherfucker, get the fuck back down.
Doku. Don't forget, he's super serial.
It's super serial. Man Bear Pig.
You know it had to be done.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, these people will support, donate money to, and vote for, and listen to these same hypocrites because they will not acknowledge the fact that, like many politicians, they're mostly grifters, and they will tell you whatever it is you want to hear, but they have no intention of doing anything about it.
Pretty much what I said with British government, so yeah.
On the ones that actually do something, they only do things that better their own positions. They're not doing it for you. Like, let me be perfectly blunt in case anybody's confused about this. I would make the argument that let's say roughly 2/3 of politicians, whether you agree or disagree with them, you voted for them or didn't, not irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
At least 2/3 of them, from what I can tell, probably larger number, I'm being very generous by that, by the way, only want a position of power simply so they can better their own positions. They're not doing it for you. They do not care about you. They'll talk to you like they do. They'll say that you're their best friend and they love this state. They love this country. They're going to do the right thing. You just have to vote for me. Trust me. Blah, blah, blah. When someone says, I know what's right, you should trust me. Let me make the decisions for you. Don't trust that person. No, they don't. Weirdly enough, CSG had a good point because it also is ironically enough true. When someone says, I don't want power, like, leave me alone. No, let me do my own thing. You do you. Like, that's usually actually the person who you could trust with power because, at least bare minimum, they're not going to use that power to undermine you or get in your way. I'll use that power to not use it. Now, don't expect me to do anything with it. But again, if someone's not going to use it against you, that's a damn slight of a little bit better than somebody you can't trust with it.
If I may, just for one moment. And this is why I say Doku 2024.
Nope.
He said it himself. The others aren't going to help, but he will, because at least he won't go against you. He is actually putting forward his suggestions now, writing his name.
No, this is purely a theoretical argument. We're doing this for intellectual entertainment purposes. We're not.
Oh, you know, I'm getting you in trouble here.
I am not running for any sort of political office. No, do not do this.
Hey, I talked Dodge into it. What are you talking about?
Well, but Dodge would actually act on it. I won't. You're just wasting your vote.
Yeah, but he would have acted on it and become a libertarian, i.e. absolutely nothing would have happened. You at least are going to go into this as a conservative with the possibility of getting something happening.
Yeah, except at least 1/3 of the Conservative Party would probably hate me because I'm a constitutionalist, and not all conservatives are constitutionalists.
True. But hey, it's probably going to be doing better than the amount of people that hate you for being a Republican. They would consider you one of Trump's boys, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they probably would, which would be really funny because as much as I like to criticize the left, because again, they're regressive and well, let's be fair, they give me such an easy, low-hanging fruit opportunity to entertain the audience that I have to go after the left. But when the right gives me that fruit, I go after them just as easily. And it's not like I haven't said before in the past that I am more than willing to criticize Trump whenever he screws up. It's not like I haven't already done that once on this stream already. I can give you at least 3 other examples that really irritate me about Trump and the way he does shit.
Mm-hmm.
One, the dude is arrogant to a fault.
Yeah, but is that a bad thing?
Yes, because it doesn't afford him the ability to actually be introspective and realize that when he's doing things that is actually benefiting the opponent, benefiting the enemy, he doesn't recognize it because he's like, well, fuck you, I'm going to win anyway, so why the hell should I have to not do this? I'm going to do it. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. And I know that because I have a similar type of arrogance about me. I have learned from my mistakes. I have learned the hard way that sometimes confidence is not necessarily your friend. Sometimes you have to be a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Critical of yourself and your actions and have a little bit of introspect and adjust your approach. Trump is a bull. Trump just charges headfirst, doesn't give a shit.
What you're saying is you've worked out what he's done wrong and you would be able to do better. Again, everyone, please take note what he's saying here. Okay? Just 2024,
no,
Doku.
That's not what I'm saying. No, don't waste your vote.
No, dude, waste your vote. Really? Do you think that they haven't already had the vote and decided who's going to be in charge of the your country next time? It's already happened. It's just going to be noise. You know it and I know it. Come on.
Sometimes I hate it when you make sense and point out the obvious, but you're not wrong.
Sorry, guys, but I don't want to be that guy, but unfortunately I've got this horrible feeling that I am going to be that guy. The vote doesn't matter. What you want and what you don't want, unless you've got some sort of control, which, to put it bluntly, no one has. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Let's be honest, wasn't it the Democrats that actually said, we don't need to control the voters, we need to control the people who count the votes? Well, they do.
Yeah, they did say that, and to be honest,
they literally admitted it.
I appreciate the honesty.
Said, okay, they literally admitted what they're doing. Okay.
Yeah, wow. I know you're not wrong. Let's be honest. I know a lot of people had the argument about mail-in ballots and chain of custody and all that stuff, and I'm not going to bore everybody with the same argument they've heard a billion times at this point already. But there's no reason to be against something like voter ID or trying to push the idea of mail-in ballots, knowing that there's no chain of custody, unless you intend to fudge the vote or use it as a pretext for not having a secure election. Like that, why are you arguing against security measures? Because, again, I'll be blunt. Absentee voting is not universal vote by mail, but they will conflate the two terms and say, well, Trump votes by mail. No, he votes by absentee. He has to request it. He has to provide identification, and then it gets sent to him, and he votes early. That's not the same thing as universal vote by mail, where you could literally have someone accidentally give you 2 ballots and mail both of them in, and they're not going to check it. How do we know this? Well, it's not like we just had a fucking audit that proved that happened. Enough to be significant of scrutiny.
Yeah, didn't they? Because there was that little votey thing with your man in what's it called, California, Newsom. That sound right to you?
Yeah, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the boy. I seem to remember hearing about one guy who actually said, "Oh, I ended up putting in 6 separate votes because I got 6 voting forms." Does that seem right to you? I mean, is it? I'm not making any accusations here, so our Lord and God's in charge, YouTube, don't have a go at me for this. But are you trying to say that it's okay to vote repeatedly in the same country? Oh, sorry, county, whatever you want to call it.
In a moral society, no. In reality, apparently.
Okay, just checking.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. If somebody votes twice, that's 2 people who essentially have their vote canceled out, because that's 1 additional vote for whoever they voted for. But if anybody voted for a different candidate, that cancels out their vote as well. So it technically counts as 2 from a statistics standpoint. So this guy canceled out, assuming what he said is correct and he's not just taking the piss or trying to get attention, and he actually did vote 6 separate times. Well, that's 10 people who he essentially disparaged.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, people will do that because, sadly enough, we don't live in a moral society. Just call it what it is. We do not live in a moral society. These people don't care. They just want to win. They don't. If it harms you or if it is just immoral from just a baseline moral standpoint, they don't give a shit. They're selfish, they're narcissistic, and these are also the same type of people who will probably also want you to take care of them because they don't want to take care of themselves. This is the type of mindset mentality that we're dealing with. And it's not that difficult to recognize. It really isn't. It's just people don't want to recognize it.
Also said, be honest, Doku, we barely live in a society. He is not wrong. I have just had, unfortunately, one of those lovely thoughts I have every once in a while. What if, remember, I'm twisting this around based on the conversation we started this entire stream on about Facebook, etc., becoming their own, country, for want of a better term. What would happen if Facebook actually put all their energy into getting their person put in? And I don't just mean the person they're, putting their vote behind. I mean, literally, Facebook being its own party. Wouldn't that be the first step to creating your own, country existence?
You have a point.
Oh, God, don't tell me I'm right again. I'm sorry I keep being right. I just lie. Tell me it's not going to be that bad.
Well,
lie to me.
To be fair, they probably wouldn't go about doing it because, again, it would actually start restricting the power that they already enjoy. But you also have to remember, they already invested millions of dollars into voting machines and donated to certain counties, and they also threw a lot of money behind Act Blue, who was actively supporting Biden. So they technically, kind of, by proxy, already did.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be too difficult for them to suddenly decide, well, we're bored with voting for a senile old twit. Let's put our own guy in. And the lizard will step forward. That was actually meant to.
Right.
I like that. Daddy.
And ironically enough, this actually segues into when I said I had 3 other criticisms of Trump.
Mhm.
This is one of my other major criticisms. He didn't address the issue of social media censorship, Section 230, freedom of speech. Because what the hell happened? Look, they didn't censor Biden. They kicked Trump off the platform. They used it to spread propaganda. They openly admitted through, I forgot who published the article, but talking about fortifying the election. We're stopping misinformation. But at the same time, we'll delete your YouTube channel for quoting literal CDC statistics. So, you're stopping the flow of information. No, what you're doing is you're controlling the flow of information, regardless if it's factual or not, because you need to control the narrative, because that's how you keep the sheep asleep. They're not doing it because they have your best intentions at heart. They're doing it because they want to control you, and anybody that threatens that control, they need to unperson. And that's exactly what they did. Like, how many times have you seen, the little, this is flagged as misinformation, or here, do you want to read more? Do you want to read the article before you do? They only do it to a certain mindset, a certain group of people. And once you're on a list, you're on a fucking list. But you could have someone say the literal exact same thing. I have seen people actually do it. I'll just use Twitter as the example. Somebody can say something, it'll get tagged as misinformation. Now, have someone like, for example, Leonard Nimoy or Alyssa Milano, have them literally copy paste the same tweet? Nothing. Why do they do that? The answer should be obvious. And if it isn't, it's not worth explaining. It's obvious. But yeah, that's the point. So yeah, where did Trump screw up? He didn't address this issue because, honestly, I don't think he thought they were actually going to have the balls to do it. And when they did it, he still did nothing about it. Yeah. And I only have 2 explanations for this one. Either A, this is hubris, or B, it's a case of don't interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. I don't know which it is. I hope it's the latter. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was the former either. Because, again, Trump is rather arrogant. Sometimes this works out for him. And the case of this past election and how it was conducted and how social media corporations are conducting themselves, which is why we're even having this stream to begin with in the first place, you could have nipped this in the bud and you chose not to. I'm not sure why. But
just want it pointed out that Susan said, you do know that Leonard Nimoy is dead. I know that means he's voting for the Democrats now, but he's dead, right?
Oh, yeah. Fuck. I always get these 2 people mixed up for whatever reason. It's not Leonard Nimoy. Who's the gay Asian man that's always talking shit about Trump and conservatives on Twitter? Who am I thinking of?
George Takei.
Thank you. Yes, George Takei. That's who I have a bad habit. Kim makes fun of me all the time for this. I always get Leonard Nimoy and George Takei mixed up. I don't know what it is. It's a thing.
Let's be honest. This could be a shock for A, Leonard Nimoy, and B, George Takei's boyfriend. If you get them 2 mixed up, oh boy.
You know what? I'm not even going to comment on that one. I'm just going to. Sometimes I like to poke the bear, but I know when not to, and that's when I'm.
Are you really going to be talking about poking the bear when we're talking about George Takei?
There's the joke.
And there it is. Pokey. Yes.
So I guess since I said I had 3 criticisms of Trump, I'll finish off with a 3rd one. Why the hell did you do the bump stock ban, dude? These people are just going to use it as a pretext to be like, oh, well, if you did this, then we can do this. Give an inch, take a mile. Like, you should have just told them to go fuck themselves. Like why? Anyone who's decently familiar with firearms know that the majority of people who go out, even if they're shooting for sport, whether they're doing for hunting, or even if they're going to do it for nefarious purposes, no one uses a fucking bump stock. It was one time where somebody used a bump stock, and all of a sudden the bump stock is the worst thing in the fucking world. So fine, here, we'll ban bump stocks. I'll use a rubber band or a sock then. What does this do? It doesn't accomplish anything except telling your ideological opponent that Well, I'm willing to bend a little bit. Well, guess what? If you're willing to bend a little bit, they're going to put a freaking 10-foot weight on your forehead and make you say, suck your own ass, bitch. Why? Because I said so. Because you proved that I'm willing to bend back and look up. That's why. Because they don't give a fuck about you. They hate you. They just want you to bend to their will. They want to subjugate you. That's their goal. Their goal is not to have some sort of discourse. They don't want compromise. Their goal is to make you do as I say. And then again, as we were talking earlier, consolidate power. These are not people you should trust. They're not people you should capitulate with. They're not people you should compromise with. They're people that you should point the finger at, mock them, make fun of them, make sure they don't have any more power than they already have, and if at all possible, get rid of the power that they already do have because they're going to use it against you. They are not your fucking friends. I don't know how many times I need to say this to people, but wake the fuck up. Your public representatives, the people that you elect, that you champion and that you cheer for, the vast majority of them are not your friends. They do not represent you. They don't like you. Most of the time, they actually probably fucking hate you simply because...
Yeah, you broke up right there. Just letting you know. Okay, I don't even know if you can hear me. But just informing you, you have disappeared from the stream. Now, while he's been struck, oh my God, they have struck him silent. That's what's going on. They've actually silenced Doku. Wow, it's a miracle. Anyway, simply put, things are going down. There is absolutely bugger all we can do about it unless somehow large groups of people actually get together and change things. No, this isn't a call for action. This is more of a absolute despair that no one's actually doing anything. I'm not even wasting my time calling for action because I don't think there will be any. Are you back here, Doku?
Have I received the blessings of the internet gods? Am I okay?
Apparently, yes. You getting down on your knees or blowing, whichever one it was, actually worked. So, you are back.
Well, I'm not sure what I said that pissed off the proverbial lordship that rules over us on this wonderful, wonderful platform of technology. But to finish my point, simply, these people represent themselves, donors, special interest, and foreign interest before they'll actually represent you if you didn't vote for them. So why the hell would you trust them with that power? Because, again, it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat, but to be blunt, they're representatives. They're just not representative of you. That's just the truth. But the problem is these people will not compromise. That's how entrenched they are because they know they can get away as long as they hold out. They will get away without compromising. They don't want to compromise. They don't want to represent the best interest of both those who support them and those who don't support them. That's not their goal. That's not their modus operandi. And it all goes back to this idea of consolidation of power. Who has the majority? Well, guess what? If they know they have the majority and they're willing to dig their heels in because you've already proven that you're willing to compromise and they aren't, but you won't punish them for it, well, guess what? They're going to dig their heels in until they can consolidate power. And once they have enough power, they will change the fucking rules to make sure they never lose it. These are not people you can trust. That's my rant.
Okay. Well, based on the time, I will actually bring this to a close here. Thank you very much for being on, Doku. Thank you, CSG, if you do actually take note of this. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming and listening to our random rambles. Just remember, all praise YouTube. YouTube should be our ruler. We all know this. And yes, Brent, the core is mother. The core is father. Goodbye, everybody. Last comment from Doku, if anything.
All hail our Lord and Savior, Susan. Please don't delete our channel.
It's the fact they did it just as you was talking. That still funny. Anyway, bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Later.